Solomon Wilcots, former Colorado wide receiver, joining the show. Welcome, man.
Former Colorado safety.
Excuse me.
Or safety,
Hey, yes, right. Hey, great to be on with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yes. I want to start here. Your first year at Colorado, you guys, I believe, were 1-10. Is that correct?
Yeah. Early years, yeah. No one goes off to college to lose a lot of games.
Yeah.
So when that happens, you go in and you talk to the coach, and you know what's on the forefront of your mind is I'm not staying here. But you give it a shot because you talk to the coach. You say, look, Coach, I know some guys where I'm from. They're not afraid of Oklahoma. They're not afraid of Nebraska. And at that time, we were in the Big Eight. And I said, we need to start recruiting some other guy. And he, you know what? He challenged me, allow us to do that. That's how we're able to get the Darian Hagans, the Deion Figures, the Eric Bieniemys, and the list goes on and on. The Mike Pritchards. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it was great because I was just a guy being the host on all these recruiting trips, and I got all these guys like, man, we need you, man. You got to come here. You got to help us win, right? Mm-hmm. There wasn't this transfer portal, so you had to get it done by just convincing guys this was the right team to be on. And by the time I was out of there, we went back-to-back bowl games. A few years later, they win a national championship with those same players. And so it was a great time, and CU here's history. But right now, it's a whole total game. It's just really a wonderful opportunity for Shilo Sanders to come in and just bring this whole new vibe and whole new feeling to the program.
You talked about the talent, and talent, in the end is going to be the most important thing. But there has to be also a culture shift to go from, a losing team to a winning team. What from your playing days do you remember of, man, I really noticed this shifted while we were making that move back to being great?
It's one thing to acquire the talent, and that's really what it's about. It's about that, but it's also going through this crucible of hard work. Back then, when we went through spring training, and they still have spring football today, you cannot be afraid to put the pads on and go to work. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did. And it was like a battle royale, man. We hit every single day. And you got to practice so hard and so physically that games become easy. Yeah. And if you're not willing to do that, forget about it. You might as well close down shop. Go play some other sport. But that's what we did. And I know Coach Prime is wired the same way now. There's spring practices. That's why Bo Schembechler hung it over the locker room at the University of Michigan. Of course, it's still there. Those who stay will be champions. What he's really saying, the coded language is, because we're trying to run some of them off. Yeah. If you don't have championship stuff in you, you're not going to want to be a part of this. Mm-hmm. It's going to be so hard that it's difficult to stay. That's the inference there.
And it brings me back to something that Dan Campbell said, and it was in Hard Knocks. But it was like the first practice of him out there of training camp. Yeah. And he just says, like, guys, I wish I could tell you that I think we can get where we can go without hitting here. And I want to protect you guys, and I want you guys to have long careers, but I don't believe that we can get where we need to go by not playing football.
He's right. And you could see – I went back and I looked. The first year and a half, I think of their first maybe 25 or 29 games, they won 4. They were like 4-25, somewhere in there. And then they caught fire. Remember the second half of their second season where they won all those games. They ended up beating Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field in the season finale of that second year. They didn't make the playoffs, but they had gone through this crucible where you could tell that team they were different. They were different. And you could tell coming into 2023, they were going to be something special. But they didn't get in overnight. They didn't come to that mentality and that kind of conclusion and thinking overnight. They had to go through some of the tough grinds. It had to hurt before it got better. Mm-hmm. But he worked them. They practiced. And then they held together through a very difficult period. And I think they kind of showed their mettle, showed what they were made of. And at the start of this season, you see they went out to Kansas City and beat the defending Super Bowl champion in the opening night game. And it told you we were dealing with a different Detroit Lion team. Yep.
Solomon, you played safety. Shiloh He kind of reminds me of an old school safety, just how he hits and stuff. What's your impression of him when you watch him play?
Yeah, he brings it, man. He loves the physicality of the game. He's not out there just trying to get a bunch of picks and not willing to get his jersey dirty. No, he's willing to do it however they want it. And he's going to hit you. He's going to get you to the ground. He's an excellent tackler in space, which is what you want. He reads the ball very well. He can high point the ball with great ball skills. Former baseball player, so you know he's got ball skills like his dad. And but he loves the game, and that's what I love about Deion and how he coaches. He's really trying to find out. It's not about all the glitz and what glitters and what's shiny. It's about, do you love this game?
Yeah.
And are you passionate about this? And are you a good teammate? And are you willing to do the work that it takes to be good? And once you can really dig down deep and find that in players, you know you got something special.
How happy are you to look at Colorado's schedule and see teams like Oklahoma State and Kansas State and schools like that back on there?
No, I like that because that takes us back to our origin, right? In a university that started in the Big 8. And then went over to the Pac-12. I grew up in Pac-12 country. I grew up in Los Angeles, California, so I was used to watching the USCs, the UCLAs, and we always knew that the Pac-12 played good football. And the way that Colorado had always recruited, they had always recruited in those areas. People don't remember. You know, Troy Polamalu went to USC, but he was a heavy recruit at Colorado. He ended up going over to USC, but he was a guy out of Oregon. So we had always recruited in those areas. So when we went to the Pac-12, we thought that it would still hold well for us to be good recruiters on that side. It's nice, I think, to be back in what is now the Big 12, simply because financially that – you know, the Pac-12, it fell apart. Their TV deal didn't support the way that it was supposed to. There were a lot of intricate things that kind of led to the decision to leave the Pac-12 and led to USC and UCLA and all those teams leaving. But it's good. As we look forward, we have a tradition of playing against Oklahoma and playing against, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and some of these other schools. And then some of the new schools that have come into the conference. So very much looking forward to getting back to just winning. Who's ever on schedule, we need to just get back to winning.
Travis Hunter's a phenomenal football player. I'm just curious, your overall impression of him, and then do you think he's a better wide receiver or defensive back?
Wow, he's kind of both, right? Yeah. Think about how good he's been at each position as a part-time player, right? Putting 50% of his time into being a wide receiver, but look how well he plays the position. As good as anyone in the country, right? Putting 50% of his time at being a defensive back and having a great feel for the game. Excellent ball skills as well, right?
Super instinctual.
That's right. And a playmaker, but only putting half the amount of time into playing the position. And this is what, many kids go through when they want to play multiple sports or play multiple positions. Coaches are like, think about how good you could be if you just did the one.
Right.
And but I think, over the course of him growing up and playing both, I think it's made him better at each, right? He understands how wide receivers think when he's playing defensive back. He knows whether they're splits, where they're aligned on the field, his inside foot up. That means he's running this route. Back foot up, or at least outside foot up, we know he's running that route. And so he's able to understand a lot of, I think, nuanced things that helps him to be better at each position, having played the other.
And you just talked about, finding guys who love the game and have joy for the game. I don't know if there's a guy who plays with more joy in the country than him.
He really
that's
does.
why you can't get him off the field, because he just loves football so much.
And when he came back from his injury, he played all those snaps. I'm thinking, get him off the field. It's too much. It's too much. Like, everyone was like, no way he can keep playing all these snaps. That's what you love about him. His love for the game, his willingness to put it on the line for his teammates and give everything that he's got. I just think it's incredible. I think he's a great competitor. I think he's got great skills. I think he's got tremendously high football IQ. And more importantly, he has a love for the game.
Do you think it's possible to play two ways in the NFL, like Coach Prime used to?
It's been tried. And remember, Coach Prime, he got a couple of snaps over here. And now, obviously, as a special team guy, as a return guy, he was phenomenal. And as a corner, he was phenomenal. He didn't play full time at the other position. You just can't. This is a guy that played multiple sports.
Yeah.
And did it at a high level, by the way. And I just still remember watching him. I covered him when he played for the Cincinnati Reds because I was working in local television at the time. I had retired from the NFL, was working in local TV. This guy would hit a ball that looked like a single. He's going to be standing on first base. We'd look up. By the time they're throwing it, he's turning the corner. He's coming into third. We was like, what? I mean, he can run those pads, man, like nobody you've ever seen. And was just a great ball player. But getting back to playing multiple positions in football in the NFL, I just think it's too hard. It's just what the requirements to play one position and be good at it. It takes everything, man.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying never. I would never say never. No one will ever be able to do it. It's going to, Bo Jackson would have. It's going to take a special talent. Yeah. And I'm not going to say it would never happen again, but, man, look, you'll know when you see it. Yeah. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
for sure.
And, I mean, when you talk about that, it always comes back to wear and tear, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of wear and tear, tell us about Macy.
Well, Macy is an innovative treatment to repair cartilage damage in the knee. In using your own cells, so it's an autologous science that where they go in and they do it, it's by, they go in and they pull a piece of cartilage out, healthy tissue. They grow it on a collagen membrane, and then they go back in to reinsert it. It adheres to the healthy tissue and to the bone, and so they were able to smooth out what was really causing you a lot of pain, a lot of sticking. It wasn't that smooth groove in the knee joint, and now you're back to not only having your vitality back, whether you're a weekend warrior or an NFL player. If you're having knee cartilage problems, this is the treatment that you want. Just go to Macy.com, MACI.com, find a doctor in your area, or just to get more information on the procedure.
Really interesting stuff. Last one I got for you before we let you go, and it's something we were just talking about before you showed up. Why are there so many successful teammates of yours in media? I mean, you've had a great career. Big Al's had a great career. Chad Brown. I mean, the list kind of goes on and on of guys who have been great. Cordell Stewart, the whole squad kind of.
And in the NFL, I also played with Boomer Esiason, Chris Collinsworth, and played with a lot of guys at the pro level and in the collegiate level. One of the things is, I think, in our league, particularly at the University of Colorado, we believe in going back and helping one another, whether it's through Buffs for Life or whether it's just, hey, call me if you need anything. And so for many of those guys, they saw me working in broadcast television. And, of course, I continue to help any of them with any kind of advice. We help one another. If it's time to even renew a contract, we're on the phone, we're talking to each other about what's the best way to handle that. And what's the best way to have long-term success and sustainable careers in any market or in any industry. We like to believe that we've built up a network of individuals who all care about one another and are all willing to do anything that we can to help one another.
It's a beautiful thing, especially Buffs helping Buffs, but also tells you a little bit about the true brotherhood of football.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. Look, when those guys signed up to come to the University of Colorado, I took it personal because I felt like these are guys who are going to help our program go to the next level. And I think football teaches us the real key and most important things in life. You cannot accomplish anything on your own. You're going to need help from somebody, whether it's through a mentor, whether it's through partnership with someone. Anyone who stands up and says, I did it by myself, don't believe them. Just don't believe them. Because I can tell you right now, it's not happening. There are a lot of people who poured into that individual, whether it's from a knowledge-based perspective to help teach them and show them a way, right? So all of us need one another to accomplish our life's goals, dreams, and aspirations. Football teaches us that, and it plays out in life every single day.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for your time.
All right. Appreciate you guys having me. All the best.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Take care. Thank you.